For the first time ever, the UFC is going to Azerbaijan, and they have chosen Jamal Hill and Khalil Rountree to main event the fight night card we are going to talk about. I'm going to go through every single fight. I'm going to give you my early lean, my early pick. This is before the extensive tape study, the in-depth research that I do on every fight to bring you guys my best picks and my best bets every single week. I am recording this video before UFC Atlanta. So I don't know how Atlanta went for me as far as the bets go. I usually go over how the bets went, but I am traveling to Atlanta, and then I'm traveling from Atlanta back down to Florida, and then I'm moving back to Wisconsin. So I'm in the process of moving, and so the next few days I'm going to be out of town. So I wanted to get this video recorded for you guys so I could post it on Sunday so that you would have my early picks. So we're going to go over all of it, and hopefully you enjoy. Like the video for me, subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into it with the early breakdown. First fight of the night, it looks like, is going to be Zheleznyakova and Elliott. I believe these guys were both supposed to fight a few weeks ago, and both of them had visa issues, so then they just made this matchup. And I guess you don't need or maybe they had the visa to get into Azerbaijan and fight there, whatever. Overall, the fight looks to be pretty good to me. I mean, I think Zheleznyakova is a decent fighter. Southpaw guy, combat sambo background. And he had a nice win on the Dana White Contender Series over a huge Brazilian. And he basically just weathered the storm. You know, round one was pretty close. Round 2 and 3, he just had more gas. He was just a little bit more sharper. And he was a big underdog there, and he got it done. He's going to be an underdog here, I would assume, against Elliott. I haven't even looked at the odds, but usually they have the odds on the Tapology. We're doing this early, so we don't. I assume Zheleznyakova is going to be the underdog here. I don't know how big. I would probably say Elliott minus 300. I could see that because he was a pretty big favorite against Brahimai in his initial matchup, and I think Elliott's getting a lot of respect from the books because he's very well-rounded, solid striker, solid wrestling, good defensive wrestling. So I think Elliott is the rightful favorite, and I do think Elliott wins. I can see him having success with his footwork from the outside, chipping away with those kicks. His hands are pretty sharp. And if he wants to wrestle, I think he could have some success. I think he could get some cage push going. If he's on the ground, I think he's a solid enough grappler to have some, I don't want to say have his way, but at least, you know, get some top time on Zheleznyakova. And I don't think Ko is going to be able to take down Oban. So I think Oban is going to be the one controlling this fight. I think he probably wins. I could see a decision because I think Ko is good enough to not get finished here. But, you know, Oban's fought some okay guys in the UFC. He's got that UFC experience, and now he's taking on a UFC debuter. So I think Oban rolls here. I'm going to take Oban for the early pick. I think he gets it done. And, you know, I don't think it's like a terrible matchup for him. And I don't think the rebooking does anything really for either guy. So Elliott's going to be the early pick. Let's move on. Ulanbekov, Azat Maksum. Azat Maksum was once 15-0. But it was a pretty fraudulent 15-0. All right, he went to a split decision with Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam's like almost 40 at flyweight. Very close fight. Didn't really do much. And then he lost to Charles Johnson in an also close fight. I believe he dropped Charles Johnson in round 1. Unless I have that backwards. I don't have any notes here. I just go off the top of my head. But if I remember correctly, Azat Maksum dropped Charles Johnson in round 1, and then I think he lost the last 2. But it was a close fight. I thought he lost for sure. But like there's some argument to where you can make, you know, Maksum as the winner there. But I thought Charles Johnson clearly won that fight. I'll take Maksum. I don't want to say I'm not going to take Maksum, but I like Maksum for the future because I think he has, you know, a solid frame. He's 5'7", 70-inch reach, so he matches up with Tajir, who's also very tall and long flyweight. I think his striking is okay. I think he's just got to trust a little bit more. I think his wrestling is not amazing, and I think that's probably where Ulanbekov is going to have the advantage here. You know, Tajir is a solid enough striker because he has a solid jab, uses his kicks pretty well, his footwork is good. And then he's going to look to take you down to the ground, and his top pressure is really good. His scrambles are good. His submissions are nasty. He's got those long arms. He loves the front chokes. I think Tajir wins here. I think he'll be the favorite. I expect him to be a favorite. I would probably put him around the minus 200, minus 250 range. But I think Ulanbekov is just more skilled overall, better strength of schedule, more UFC level experience, and I think he's going to use that to get a win here. I could see it being a decision victory for Ulanbekov. I was fairly impressed, with his performance against a young, explosive guy. His last time out, I forget the guy's name, but is it the Arizona kid? The name's not going to come to me, but I thought he was a pretty solid prospect, and Tajir pretty much handled him. So I think Tajir rolls here. I'll take him for the early pick. Let's move on to some women's MMA. And the next two women's MMA fights we're going to talk about are disgusting. Disgusting. Daria Zheleznyakova. You might look at that picture and say, well, we got a nice looking Russian here. But she's not Russian. She's from France. She is Russian, but she trains in France at the MMA Factory. And what do we know about French fighters from the MMA Factory? The ground game is shit. It is bad. Her striking's okay. Honestly, I don't think it's amazing, but, the technique looks pretty good, but she's pretty hittable. I don't think she's the fastest. She don't got really any power. And she's probably going to be taken to the ground here by Melissa Mullins. And not that Melissa Mullins is some amazing grappler, but she has that in her bag, and I think that's probably the route she's going to go to. Like, if you watch Daria's last fight against Perez, she got taken down and subbed. And Perez don't finish nobody except the fellas that subscribe to her OF. But Melissa Mullins is going to take her down, and I do expect her to have success there. If it's on the feet, I don't think Daria is going to hurt Mullins with anything to where she's going to get TKO'd like she did against Nora Cornoli. I think Mullins is good enough to handle herself there. I think Mullins is going to get those takedowns. She's going to have success with it. Maybe could find a finish. I don't think maybe, honestly. If you're getting submitted by fucking Eileen Perez, maybe Melissa Mullins could pull off a finish here. She looked pretty good in her last fight, but, we'll talk about that in the next one. Melissa Mullins is the early pick. Let's move on to another gross one. Arina Alekseeva. She is Russian, but she definitely don't look like that anymore. I think this is the Russian Ronda chick that we were talking about, and she is ugly. She got really, really gross. But Claudia Sygula is the one I was alluding to in the last breakdown. She got manhandled by Melissa Mullins in her UFC debut, and I pretty much saw it coming because this Sygula chick, she's pretty green, and her striking was okay, but I did not expect much of a ground game from her, and Melissa Mullins exposed that. Alekseeva, she's okay. Like, she's a little bit dangerous on the feet. I could see where she could crack Sygula with something, but honestly, I don't think her striking is very good. I think she just throws. I don't know that her gas tank is that good either. I think, if anything, Alekseeva is probably going to want to get this fight to the ground, where Sygula showed she is not very good. I'm going to lean with Arina Alekseeva for the early pick here. I'm going to watch some more tape on it because I don't really remember too much from Alekseeva, but I think she's probably good enough to beat Sygula, who I thought was just really, really bad. Pretty cute, though. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Arina Alekseeva for the early pick here. I just think she's got more ways to win. Sygula needs a striking battle, and maybe she can have some success, but I don't really see it. Alekseeva is the early pick. Let's move on. We go from low-level women's MMA to some low-level heavyweights. Kamaru Usman's making the quick turnaround after fighting Joaquin Buckley and losing. Hopefully that prediction ages pretty well. But Muhammad Usman coming in here. Never been a fan of Usman. Pretty bum heavyweight. But does have a lot of heart. Got solid cardio. His striking is okay. But he always looks like he's spazzing in there. He just looks uncoordinated to me. Hamdi coming off the win against Jamal Pogues, which I don't even know if he won that fight, but I believe it was in Saudi Arabia. So, a little home cooking. Not quite the home, but the home region. Home cooking for Hamdi in that one. Hamdi's got some decent wrestling, got some decent power. I didn't really think he was ever that great, and I don't think he is going to be that great, but he is fairly athletic as well. Pretty solid figure. 6'2". I don't know if he's 6'2", but he's 260 pounds, so he's got some weight behind him, and he's one of those little stockier big guys that has some explosiveness to him. So good athlete, but he was on the sauce, and he looked okay at his last one though when he wasn't on the sauce. Who really knows? Because it was in Saudi Arabia. Could have been on the sauce. But he's in Azerbaijan here, so good for him. I think Hamdi is going to have some success, hitting Usman. But honestly, I think Usman's probably live to win here because Usman has pretty good takedown defense, solid enough striking to where he could throw up, 70 significant strikes or land 70 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. And I don't know that Hamdi does. Like, Hamdi could hurt him with something, and that's how he wins. But if we go off, like, pure volume here, I think Usman's probably going to have more volume. It's just a matter of how does he react to the shots. Because that heavyweight, if you get hit with one punch and you don't react well, that could easily just win the round because sometimes they just don't really throw much. And I think the wrestling will kind of cancel each other out. I don't see Hamdi just ragdolling Usman. So I think Usman's live here. I expect Usman to be an underdog here because Hamdi's the undefeated guy. Usman's on back-to-back losses. He's also a little bit older. But I think Usman's live. So I'm going to lean with Usman here. I'm expecting him to be the dog. But I think he has a path to victory here. Throw more volume, stuff the takedowns, get some cage push going. He's not afraid to stall out, too. I mean, we saw it against, Junior Tafa? Just literally laid on him for 3 rounds. I'll take Usman for the early pick. Let's move on from that disgusting heavyweight fight. We got Ismail Naurdiev taking on Jun Young Park. Naurdiev came back to the UFC. Got a win against Bruno Silva. That was UFC. That was the Holloway Topuria card. And Bruno Silva looked terrible. He looked awful. He looked so washed, like an unbelievable amount of wash that I've ever seen. Like, the guy didn't even fight. He survived, but he didn't fight. Naurdiev did whatever he wanted in that fight. He's not going to be able to do whatever he wants in this one. Okay, Jun Young Park always comes with the fight. I mean, he's going to push a pace. He's going to throw a good amount of volume. He's going to look to take you down. And when he takes you down, if you try to get back up, he's going to take you down again. If you don't get back up, he's going to work to find a better position. And if he does find a better position, he's going to land ground and pound. He's going to threaten with chokes. I think Jun Young Park wins here. I like Jun Young Park here because I never really thought Naurdiev was that good. I mean, he's got a good amount of fights, but he's kind of hot and cold, and I don't really put any stock into his win against Bruno Silva. Now, he is 28, and maybe he is still improving, and he comes in here and he gives Jun Young Park all that he can handle. But I think Jun Young Park at this point is a good enough fighter to beat Ismail Naurdiev. I mean, getting out-wrestled by Andre Muniz is not like the worst thing because Muniz is huge and Park doesn't have the best takedown defense, but he just keeps working and working and working. I don't know that Naurdiev could keep that up for 15 minutes. Maybe because we're in Azerbaijan and, the supplements that are allowed over there are a little bit different. And we saw in his last fight, he didn't gas out, but he didn't really have a lot of pushback for Bruno Silva. I think Jun Young Park's going to make him work, and I think Jun Young Park's going to win. So I'm going to take Jun Young Park for the early pick. Let's move on to where I can tell you where you can get all my bets. I'm going through the early picks here, but if you want all my bets, you can jump in the Homofight Picks premium membership. Use code HeyJive. It's always available. It'll get you a 5-day free trial. So far this year, we're positive 32.27 units. Last year, we were up over 100 units. And this year, when I look at last year and where we were at this point in the year, we are way ahead of where we were last year. And we still finished up over 100 units. So maybe we could crack 110, 120 units this year. We'll see. We just got to keep stacking up those wins. And I believe we're going to do so. All the bets, link down in the description below. Homofight Picks, winnable. And I just got a shout out. Bet 105. Bet 105, if you need a sports book, Bet 105 I think is one of the best out there. They're a crypto-only sports book. I use crypto all the time because it's the easiest way to get money in and out. And Bet 105 is crypto-only sports book. They got reduced juice, no rollover requirements. You can withdraw without, trying to fight for your money. It's your money in there. You want to withdraw it, you can withdraw it. So there's no rollovers. You don't got to go through a bunch of different hoops before you can withdraw money. And they're quick withdrawals as well. And if you deposit $100 with my code HeyJive, you'll get a free $50 bet. Bet 105. There's a link down in the description below. Shout out to them for the sponsor. And if you want to support the show further, just hit the like button for me. But if you want to support the show further, you can go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. Use code YouTube, and you'll get $10 off the t-shirt. The t-shirt is high quality. high quality. One of the best merch shirts you're ever going to see. It's going to last you a very long time. It's not going to go to shit after one wash, I can tell you that. And it's black and white. It's very easy to wear. Professor Parlay T. Go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. Link down in the description below. Use code YouTube for $10 off your order. To the main card, where it gets a little bit more interesting. Miktabek Orolbai taking on Tofik Musayev. Musayev making his UFC debut at 35 years of age. I always knew who Musayev was because he's pretty fun to watch. I mean, he's a dangerous striker, but like kind of a weird time to sign the guy. You know, he hasn't fought in almost 2 years. And I guess it's just because they're going to Azerbaijan that they signed him. But I think he's getting a tough fight here, dude. Like, Miktabek is coming off the loss to Mateusz Rebecki, and that was a war. That was an absolute war. I actually played Rebecki by decision there because I know Orolbai is durable as shit. And I thought Rebecki could hit him with some stuff because Orolbai is very hittable. He's very stiff on the feet. He throws hard, but all that is to set up his wrestling. So I don't really think he's a guy that's going to be very elusive in there, and I thought Rebecki would make him pay. I think the same thing could happen here, where Musayev is hitting him with some big stuff. Orolbai is working for the takedowns. I think he'll get the takedowns because I think he is that good of a wrestler. He's big for the division, very strong. And Musayev is mainly a striker, very fast, powerful striker who, I don't want to say he struggles with the takedown, but if Orolbai is going to win this fight, I would expect him to be looking to take the fight to the ground. And I think he's going to have success with it. So I'm going to take Orolbai here. Younger guy, more UFC experience. He's been battle-tested in the UFC. Musayev's been battle-tested. Like, he's fought some good guys. He's fought some really solid competition. But it's outside the UFC. You know, we saw Apache Mix, the UFC jitters. I don't know that Musayev's going to get UFC jitters. Doesn't seem like the EVs and the OVs get UFC jitters for whatever reason. But Musayev was the rising champion, like, it was a long time ago. I mean, it was like 2017 or something like that. He's been a fairly inactive, obviously hasn't fought in 2 years. So I just think Orolbai's activity, his wrestling, his physicality, the youth, the durability, he also hits hard. Probably going to prevail here. I'm going to take Orolbai for the early pick. To another matchup, which is interesting to me because I think it's great matchmaking. You know, I think Muhammad Naimov is one of these Tajik guys who's just very physical, got a lot of heart. I don't want to say good cardio, but I say he has heart because he pushes through, you know, being tired. Fairly good power on the feet. His striking is a little bit, I don't want to say wild, but it's not. He's not going to be throwing, you know, he's not going to be landing 80 to 100 significant strikes in a 15-minute fight. He's going to more so look to land those big shots, clinch you up, use his physicality, take you down to the ground, and win rounds that way. Bogdan Grad, I'm like hot and cold with this guy because I thought he had a good chance to beat Tom Nolan. Not the case. He got knocked out on the Contender Series. I thought he was going to run through Michael Aswell in his second Contender Series fight, and that was super close fight. I was like, Bogdan Grad, pretty solid overall game. Like, he's got wrestling, he's got jiu-jitsu, he's got power, he's got pretty solid volume, he's pretty tough, solid. Like, he's solid everywhere. And I thought he was going to show levels there against Michael Aswell. He didn't really. And then in his UFC debut, I thought Lucas Alexander might just be a little bit too fast and a little bit too sharp from the outside, where Bogdan, who's he's a smaller guy at 5'8", but he's very big, very physical. I thought Alexander would be able to skirt around the octagon and point fight him and to probably win as an underdog. And then Bogdan Grad just took over in round 2, got him down to the ground, and ground and pounded him out. Like, it was easy. And I don't know that I could put too much stock into that because I don't think Alexander is that good. I just think that was a terrible read. But Bogdan Grad is going to bring a good overall game. I think the same thing with Naimov, so that's why I think it's good matchmaking. I would favor Naimov just because I think he's fought, you know, the better competition. I think he's proven himself to be on the level of some of those guys. I mean, this guy beat Nathaniel Wood. Did he cheat? Absolutely. But that's also a possibility in this fight. If he wants to cheat, you know, they might just let him cheat. Bogdan could be a live dog here, but I think Naimov is going to win a very close one. I'm going to take Naimov for the early pick. I could see him hitting Grad with some big shots. I don't think Grad's going to have a lot of wrestling success here. Naimov is very physical in that clinch. He loves the cage push. And if you're not getting him down with like double legs or single legs, like you're not going to just body lock him and take him down. He's a very physical guy. So I like Naimov for the early pick here, but I think it's going to be really close. Let's move on to another Azerbaijanian. One of my favorite Azerbaijanians, Nazim Sadykov. I love this dude. I wish he fought more often, and I'm glad that he's getting another fight in the first half of 2025. Taking on Nicholas Motta. Motta has had a nice little resurgence to his career, and I thought he looked really, really sharp in his last fight against Mahashat, where I think he dropped Mahashat twice. Like, this dude's hands are really fast, and they are powerful. The problem is, Nazim just seems like he is built different. I talked to his manager here and there, and I rave about this guy, because when I watch him fight, like, people throw, and like they throw hard at Nazim. He gets hit with some shots. It's like it doesn't even faze him. And then he lands one shot on the other guy, and they're wobbling, they're cut. Like, this dude landed a shot on Evan Elder that split his, I think it was a knee. Man, I think it was a knee, if I can remember correctly. He landed the shot on Evan Elder in round 3. It was down 2 rounds, basically, on the judges' scorecards. Landed a knee on his eyebrow, split him open. The fight had to be called. Doctor stoppage, round 3. They couldn't even continue. This dude was getting hit with the kitchen sink by Vyacheslav Borshev. Borshev is a clean, fast, hard-hitting striker. Borshev hit him with 140 significant strikes. Didn't even faze him. He hits Borshev with a couple of shots. Borshev's falling all over the place. His last fight against Ismail Bonfim. Bonfim is looking sharp. Nazim is coming off a layoff, and he was looking a little bit slow. And I was like, oh, God. I had a bet on Nazim as an underdog there, and Bonfim was looking sharp. He was hitting him with some nice shots, and then boom. Question mark kick to the face. Breaks his orbital in round 1. Fight's over. This dude is ridiculous. I don't know what this dude was built out of, but I love it. I love me some Nazim Sadykov, but I expect him to be a favorite here against Nicholas Motta, and I expect him to be somewhat of a sizable favorite. I could see him being like minus 300, and I think Nicholas Motta is going to have his opportunities. Excuse me. He's going to have his opportunities to hit Nazim, because he's there to be hit, but it just doesn't seem like anything phases him. And if that continues, like, at some point, it's going to phase him. Like, he's 31, so he's in his prime right now. I think Nicholas is probably going to be able to hit him with some stuff early. If Nazim can weather that, if Nazim hits Motta with some big shots, I think he finds a KO. Because Nicholas, I don't think, is the most durable guy. He's been knocked out before. And I think Nazim is going to hit him with some big stuff as well, and I think he probably finds a finish. So I'll take Nazim Sadykov for the early pick, but he's going to be a minus 300 favorite, and I don't know. I'd probably just look for like an under or Nazim inside the distance, something like that. Nazim's the early pick, though. It was a little bit of a rant. Let's move on to the heavyweights. We got Curtis Blaydes taking on Rizvan Kuniev. This fight was supposed to happen, I forget when. But it got canceled, and then it got rebooked, and then it got rebooked, and then it got rebooked. And here we are. Hopefully it happens, because I would like to see this fight actually happen. And I had a bet on Kuniev in the last time that they were supposed to fight, which was like the week of, or I think they weighed in. I forget what happened. But Kuniev was like plus 250 or near plus 300. I think it was like plus 280 I got it at. And I was like, Curtis Blaydes, to me, has always been a little bit overrated. Like, this guy is solid enough to where he can beat everybody outside of the top 10. Everybody. He's got good striking, good wrestling, good takedown defense. He's going to beat everybody outside the top 10, and you could even argue outside of the top 6 or the top 5. Like, he's going to be a top 5 heavyweight for as long as he is in the UFC, because he's that good. But he doesn't really do anything amazing, in my opinion. Like, we know him to be this wrestler, but he doesn't really shoot that many takedowns now. It just seems like he's more of a striker, and he's not the fastest guy. I don't think he's the most powerful, and he's been knocked out 5 times. So I don't think his like chin is the worst, but he doesn't react that well to getting hit. And I'm not saying Kuniev is some massive power puncher, but I think Kuniev is a good athlete. I mean, this guy was on all the sauce in the PFL, beat Renan Fajeda. And honestly, I don't see why he couldn't be on the sauce now. Like, he might not be on the exact sauce that he was on when he won that fight in the PFL, because that dude literally had straight up back knee like I've never seen. And he was ripped at like 250 pounds. So I don't see that happening, but I think he's a good athlete. I think he's got good anti-wrestling. I think he could wrestle Curtis Blaydes if he wants to. I mean, Jailton Almeida took him down like 8 times in round 1. Granted, Blaydes was a tough guy to push around, and he got the KO in the second round. But I think if Kuniev gets him down, it's a bigger body, and I think Kuniev could have some success that way. I just think it's more of a closer fight. So early pick, I'm going to lean with Kuniev just because I know the line's probably going to be similar to what it was last time, and I know Kuniev's probably going to be a plus 200 dog or higher. So I'm going to lean with Kuniev for the early pick, just thinking that he has a much better chance than what the odds are giving him. But, obviously, Curtis Blaydes, way more UFC experience, way more, just more tested. But I'm going to, take a little shot on Kuniev here for the early pick. To the co-main event, one that has come up a lot in my live streams. Rafael Fiziev taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Love the matchup. And I love that Fiziev gets to fight in Azerbaijan because he's probably the most famous fighter from Azerbaijan in the UFC. So good to see him on the card in the co-main event slot. Bahamondes. Can't say enough good things about this guy. I mean, Bahamondes it seems like he's improving like every time out. The fact that he submitted Jalen Turner with a triangle was like, never saw that one coming, because I didn't think Bahamondes was going to initiate. I don't even think he initiated, but he was just like so confident going to his back with Jalen Turner. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I thought Bahamondes would look to tire him out, weather the early storm and tire him out as the fight goes on, because Bahamondes got solid cardio, solid striking, solid ground game, I guess. I mean, I don't think his defensive wrestling is bad, but he has lost fights due to it. Like the Ludovic Klein fight. He was getting hit with some shots, and then he got taken down, and he lost the fight from his defensive wrestling. But Ludovic Klein is a small, kind of a similar guy to Rafael Fiziev, but I just don't think Fiziev's going to look to take this fight to the ground. So if Fiziev is going to stand and strike with Bahamondes, I think Fiziev is so nice to watch in the striking, but at times I'm like, just do more, bro. Do more. There's more you could be doing. And I don't know if he's just afraid of gassing out. I'm assuming that's the case, that he's just afraid of gassing out, that he doesn't do more, or the fact that he's gassed out later in the fight. But I just think if this guy did more, he could win more fights. Like the first Gaethje fight, I thought if he just did a little bit more, he could have won. Then he blew out his knee against Gamrot. Terrible look. Had a long layoff, comes back and fights Gaethje again on short notice. And I thought he looked really bad then. I really did not think he looked good. First round, Gaethje was coming off the brutal knockout loss. I think Gaethje was just playing it a little bit safe. Like, let me feel myself into this a little bit. And Fiziev won it, but it wasn't by like a large margin. And then in round 2, Gaethje started to, get his reads, and he was hitting Fiziev with everything. Fiziev gassed out again. And I know it was on short notice, but it's a 3-rounder, man. Like, if you're going to be in the top 10 of the lightweight division, you got to be able to go 3 rounds. I think Bahamondes has a clear cardio edge here. I mean, he's got the height and the reach advantage as well. I think his striking is sharp enough to deal with Fiziev, who, like I said, at times is a little bit low volume. And if he wants to go to the ground, I mean, I think Bahamondes can definitely handle himself there. He's been training with Bilal Muhammad for the past few years. I'm sure his wrestling has improved. We've seen that his ground game has improved as far as submissions go. So I'm going to go Ignacio Bahamondes to spoil the hometown kid here against Rafael Fiziev as the early pick. Definitely one I'm going to look at more, but I like Bahamondes here. It'll be the early pick. To the main event. Interesting one here. Jamal Hill taking on Khalil Rountree. Rountree's probably going to be a little bit overvalued in my eyes based on the last performance against Pereira. even though it was a loss, because he came out, he took the first 2 rounds, he looked sharp, he was hitting Pereira with everything, but he just gassed out. And this is 5 rounds again. You know, if that was a 3-round fight, he would have won. But this is 5 rounds. 5-round fights, like Khalil Rountree is just not going to look good after the first 2 rounds. He's just not, especially if you make him work. On the other hand, Jamal Hill, I thought looked awful. Awful. He looked terrible. The worst I've ever seen from Jamal Hill. Comes out in the double knee sleeves. We were cooked. I thought Jamal Hill, pretty durable guy. Big power. He's going to be able to hit Yuri with some stuff that Yuri's not going to like. But it turns out that Jamal Hill was just, he looked completely washed. His knees, he looked slow as shit. Like, Jamal Hill's usually a fairly fast guy. I know he's a little bit plotty, but when he explodes, like, he is fast. And he looks so slow against Yuri. Yuri was literally piecing this dude up like Alex Pereira was piecing up Khalil Rountree in round 4. Like, anything that Jamal Hill threw at Yuri, he saw it coming. He was slipping and ripping. When have we ever seen that from Yuri? Slipping and ripping. Not happening. He's usually just eating the shot and throwing back. Or he's on the front foot and coming at you full-on retard mode. Jamal Hill, to me, terrible look his last fight. I don't know that I could ever trust this guy ever again until he proves me that he's not washed. He looked completely washed in that fight. So I'm going to go with Khalil Rountree here. Like I said, I'm sure he's probably going to be a little bit overvalued, but when I just look at where they're at in their career, like, Jamal Hill's had a lot of injuries. And I hate to say it, but the dude has carried some unnecessary weight, in my opinion. And I think that maybe just came back to bite him. Like, tore his Achilles playing basketball. God. Tore his Achilles playing pickup basketball. And then he had the knee injury. And I just think those injuries can be like career ending. And maybe this is the end. And the fact that he's, fighting again, 5 months later after getting dropped by Yuri twice and knocked out, I don't know. I don't really like it. Khalil, I still think I think Khalil's going to have the speed advantage here. I think Khalil has some nasty power. I think he has, the ability to put away Jamal Hill. But, if Khalil does gas out, Jamal Hill's cardio, I don't think has ever been bad. So Jamal could maybe, come back later in the fight and take over, and it could go to like a close decision, or Jamal could find a late KO. But I think Khalil's just better at this point in their careers, to be honest. So I'm going to take Khalil for the early pick. Going to look at it more because, Khalil's coming off the title shot. I honestly don't think guys that lose title shots do well in their next fight, especially when they're kind of undeserved. But I'm still going to take Khalil for the early pick. Appreciate y'all for watching. Please like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel. This is an early video. Hopefully UFC Atlanta treated us well. Hopefully it treated you well. And hopefully you enjoyed the video. I appreciate y'all. Until next time, hey, Job Picks. We out.